The alarm screams through the USS Arleigh Burke at exactly 8:22 a.m. on August 15, 2025. Before anyone can process what's happening, radar screens explode with 14 red blips racing across the Caribbean at supersonic speed. 6 missiles lock onto a civilian cargo vessel. 8 more barrel straight toward the destroyer. In the Combat Information Center, a young petty officer's hands shake as she grabs her headset. The captain's jaw tightens. They have 12 seconds to make decisions that will either save 300 lives or ignite a regional war. What nobody knows yet is that these missiles streaking toward them are 15 years old, relics from a Cold War arsenal that Venezuela somehow kept hidden, maintained, and ready to strike. The weapon that's about to change everything in the Caribbean was born in a Russian factory when Facebook was still new and the iPhone had just launched. Now it's about to collide with America's most advanced naval defense system, and the outcome will shock both sides. The Caribbean off La Guaira isn't just water on a map, it's an economic artery pumping billions of dollars worth of cargo every single day, connecting South America to the Gulf Coast and beyond. Container ships, oil tankers, and fuel barges form an endless convoy that keeps supermarket shelves stocked and gas stations running across 3 continents. When missiles fly here, the shock wave ripples through global markets before the smoke even clears. For Washington, naval patrols in these waters represent the defense of free navigation and the interdiction of drug trafficking routes. But from Caracas, those same warships look like floating pieces of an embargo, silent enforcers of economic strangulation. Each government calls it protection. Each accuses the other of aggression. And that's precisely how calm seas transform into killing zones, where mistakes cost lives and split-second decisions determine whether diplomacy survives or dies. The crew of the USS Arleigh Burke doesn't have time for geopolitical philosophy. They have a mission statement burned into their minds through endless drills. No civilian vessel goes down on their watch. 300 sailors working as a single organism, their training kicking in with mechanical precision. The Aegis radar system, one of the most sophisticated pieces of military technology ever deployed, begins its deadly calculations. Distance, velocity, trajectory, intercept windows. SM-6, America's premier anti-air interceptors, sit ready in their vertical launch cells. Behind them, the Phalanx close-in weapon system waits like a coiled snake. 6 rotating barrels capable of spitting 4,500 rounds per minute. The destroyer carries layers of defense specifically designed for this nightmare scenario. But there's a problem. The coastline they're facing harbors Bastion-P mobile coastal defense systems, Russian-made missile batteries that can reach far beyond Venezuela's territorial waters. These aren't random rockets, they're sophisticated anti-ship cruise missiles designed to kill aircraft carriers. And according to intelligence reports, these particular launchers were delivered to Venezuela 15 years ago, in 2010, as part of a military cooperation agreement that Washington watched with growing alarm. The tactical situation is a razor's edge. Stay close enough to the merchant vessel MV Liberty Star to provide protection, but far enough from the coast to maximize reaction time. Every mile matters, every second counts. The captain knows that Venezuelan forces have been watching, waiting, calculating the perfect moment to test American resolve. Intelligence suggested the Bastion systems were aging, possibly non-functional. That assessment is about to be proven catastrophically wrong. Inside the Combat Information Center, the radar operator's voice cracks slightly as he reports multiple launch detection, bearing 2110. The captain's response is immediate and cold. Confirm hostile, engage on track. The Aegis system takes over, its computers processing threats faster than human minds can follow. On the main display, the incoming swarm looks like digital death, each missile represented by a pulsing red icon closing the distance at nearly the speed of sound. The first SM-6 interceptor launches with a roar that shakes the entire ship. Flames erupt from the deck as the missile clears its cell and banks hard toward the threat axis. Everyone in the CIC holds their breath. 40 seconds to contact, then 30. The first red blip vanishes from the screen. Splash 1, someone shouts, but there's no celebration because 13 more missiles are still inbound. The launcher cycles and another interceptor screams into the sky. The crew works with the efficiency of a surgical team, each member executing their role perfectly while knowing that a single failure means fragments of supersonic metal tearing through steel bulkheads. Second intercept confirmed. 2 down, 12 to go. The numbers are terrifying. Venezuela launched this salvo knowing some missiles would get through. It's a saturation attack, designed to overwhelm even the most sophisticated defenses. Outside, the destroyer cuts through the waves at full speed, trying to create more distance, more time, more options. From the bridge, sailors can see tiny flashes in the clouds, brief flowers of light where American interceptors find their targets and detonate. But the radar tells a darker story. 4 missiles are still coming, and they've dropped low, skimming just above the wave tops where radar struggles to track them. They're masking under the clutter, the sensor chief reports, his voice tight. The captain understands immediately. These aren't just old missiles, they're being flown with modern tactics, terrain-following profiles that exploit gaps in the Aegis coverage. Too low for the SM-6 interceptors to engage effectively, which means only one option remains. Phalanx standby. On the aft deck, the Phalanx close-in weapon system wakes with a mechanical scream that crawls up every sailor's spine. The 6 barrels begin rotating, building to a whine that sounds like the world ending. This is the last line of defense, the weapon that engages threats measured in seconds, not minutes. The radar locks, the computer decides. Fire! The Phalanx erupts in a stream of tungsten rounds that turns night into day. The sound is indescribable, a sustained thunder that makes bones vibrate. Tracer rounds arc across the water like burning rope. One missile disintegrates in a spray of fragments, then another. The crew grips whatever they can find as shockwaves hammer the ship. 2 missiles remain. One loses its guidance system, probably damaged by the shrapnel storm, and plunges into the Caribbean. The final missile, defective or just unlucky, detonates early, too close to the Liberty Star. The blast is enormous, a rolling ball of orange fire that rips shipping containers from the cargo vessel's deck and hurls them into the sea like toys. But the ship stays afloat. No casualties reported.
"Cease fire," the captain orders, his voice steady despite everything. "Recheck radar." The red lights fade one by one until the displays show only the aftermath. The ocean slaps against steel. Someone whispers, "We made it." But the captain doesn't smile. He knows this is only the beginning. Within minutes, an encrypted transmission arrives from Washington. The message is brief, but carries the weight of presidential authority. Retaliate, precision only, no civilian harm. Every sailor understands what that means. America will strike back, but with surgical accuracy, not blind rage. The target list is already prepared, verified by satellite reconnaissance conducted over the past weeks. The Bastion launchers that fired those missiles, the radar control vans that guided them, the command nodes that gave the order, all military, all legitimate under the rules of engagement. But there's more at stake than revenge. This is about deterrence, about sending a message that echoes far beyond Venezuela's borders. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford, stationed 200 miles to the north, launches its strike package. 6 FA-18E Super Hornets roar off the catapults, each loaded with JASSM cruise missiles and precision-guided bombs. They form up in the dawn light, their formation graceful and terrible, then turn south and vanish into the clouds. Back on the destroyer, Tomahawk cruise missiles wait in their vertical launch cells, programmed with coordinates accurate to within 3 feet. Prepare for fire mission. The deck flashes orange as 4 Tomahawks rise into the sky, bend toward the horizon, and accelerate to subsonic cruise speed. They'll fly hundreds of miles at treetop level, invisible to most radars, guided by GPS and terrain-matching algorithms. High above the Caribbean, surveillance drones stream live footage back to the command ship. Analysts watch thermal signatures bloom along the Venezuelan coast, counting down to impact. The explosions appear as pinpoints of white light spreading through the coastal terrain. "Good hits," the operations officer reports. "Radar control stations destroyed." But something is wrong. Intelligence analysts reviewing the satellite data spot an anomaly. The destroyed launch sites look too perfect, almost symmetrical. Heat signatures suggest that not all the launchers were real. Venezuela had created an elaborate deception, using dummy trucks and reflective panels to generate false radar returns. They'd fired their missiles, then immediately moved the real launchers inland, hiding them in a valley beyond the range of the initial strikes. It was clever, it worked, but they made one critical mistake. The power grid feeding their targeting radar remained active. When the Tomahawks destroyed the coastal facilities, the sudden loss of electricity in one remote sector exposed the true location. "We've got them," the intelligence chief says quietly. New coordinates are transmitted within minutes. A second wave forms, smaller and more surgical. 2 precision missiles dive low, following the terrain and disappear behind a ridge. The explosion that follows is massive. The hidden battery had been parked next to stored ammunition and fuel. The secondary detonations are so powerful they register on the ship's sensors from miles away. Flames leap hundreds of feet into the air. Trucks, radar dishes, and shelter structures vanish in a storm of fire and debris. All confirmed targets destroyed, comes the final transmission. By sunrise, the battle is over. The Liberty Star limps away with damaged deck plating but no casualties. The USS Arleigh Burke remains on station, unscathed, its radar sweeping an empty sky. For the sailors, survival feels surreal. Hours ago, they were seconds from death. Now the Caribbean is calm again, as if the violence had been a fever dream. But beyond the horizon, the consequences are already cascading. The strike on Venezuela's coast destroys 60% of its coastal defense capability. The Puerto Cabello shipyard, hit by 2 precision bombs, burns for hours. Cranes collapse, repair facilities are reduced to rubble. The economic impact is immediate and brutal. Insurance rates for any vessel transiting near Venezuela triple overnight. Cargo lines reroute through longer passages, adding days and millions in fuel costs. Oil tankers pause, ports delay operations. Global supply chains tremble because of a 30-second exchange of missiles in the Caribbean. 20 nations condemn Venezuela's attack as reckless and unprovoked. Many of those same governments praise America's response as measured and precise. Washington's message resonates clearly. Freedom of navigation is not negotiable. Military analysts immediately begin studying what they're calling the Caribbean Minute War, a textbook example of how modern warfare compresses decision cycles to impossibly short windows. Speed, technology, and training determine the outcome before diplomats could even schedule emergency calls. The 15-year-old Bastion missiles proved they still had teeth, but America's layered defenses and overwhelming strike capability proved stronger. Venezuela controls only silence now. The sea lanes remain open. As the destroyer's crew gathers on deck in the dawn light, salt spray mixing with the lingering smell of cordite, the captain looks toward the rising sun. "The lane stays open," he says softly. It's not victory they feel, it's endurance. The quiet strength of holding the line until dawn, knowing they'll do it again tomorrow if they must. Because in the end, that's what sea power means. The ability to keep the world moving even when others try to stop it.